You ever find yourself holding back your true thoughts and feelings to please everyone around you? If so, it might indicate weak boundaries, and this can lead to extreme feelings of burnout, guilt, and resentment over time. Today, we're going to talk about 4 different signs that might indicate you need stronger boundaries. The first sign is that you feel guilty when you prioritize yourself. This is the idea that you have a hard time saying no, or that you feel guilty when you do something for yourself. Self-care is exceptionally important, and we have to remember that it's critical to fill our own cup in order to help fill the cups of others. So I have a friend that a while ago told me he was really struggling with self-care. He has all these hobbies and interests, and anytime he would go for a bike ride, which he loved to do, he felt extremely guilty. He felt bad about himself. And every time he's like, I should be working, I should be producing, I should be making something, and should be making phone calls and networking and pushing my career further along. And it just really struck me because it was so sad to hear that something he loved so much was causing him immense pain and struggle. And this was the idea of not being able to take care of yourself. You're not prioritizing your self-help. It's super, super critical. And a lot of us get caught up in this. So in order to avoid this, you can catch yourself when you have these feelings of self-guilt, and you can challenge those ideas and say, I know it's important to take care of myself. I know it's extremely key that I focus on developing my mental health, my psychological health, pouring into my hobbies, and that there's more lanes to life than just work. Multiple things can exist at once. You can value play and having fun, and also value work and work ethic and producing and all of that stuff. It doesn't have to be one or the other. So just remember to pour into your cup. The second sign is people pleasing. This is something that I struggled with a lot when I was really young because I was the only guy in my family. And if I wanted to play video games or hang out with everyone and eat food and just be around everybody, I had to do the things that all the girls wanted to do and the rest of the family wanted to do and all of our family friends and relatives. If I wasn't people pleasing, I wasn't doing that, I would get rejected or pushed out and I wouldn't be able to do anything at all. So learning that and understanding these people pleasing tendencies and where they came from, I was able to reverse engineer that and work backwards to say, okay, this is what's triggering the need to do that. Now I can start working on addressing that. So just because you say no, it doesn't mean that you're going to have people hate you or have all this anger thrown your way. It's actually an act of self-care to say no sometimes. And we really need to remember that sometimes our role models, our caregivers, so on and so forth, have modeled these behaviors when we were children, or something when you were young happened that caused these tendencies to be so prevalent in your life. So when we're thinking about what could be a sign of setting stronger boundaries, it's when we look really, really closely at how these things are impacting our desire to make other people happy. This is very common in people who are conflict avoidant, and they just rather keep peace and always do what makes other people happy. One first step you can do to actually work on this is to step back away from everybody, and through journaling, meditation, self-reflection, you can identify things that you've held back from others in the past to try and people please. Once you've identified those things, think about what your needs and wants are so that you can properly articulate them the next time you're in those situations. It's really challenging in the beginning, but the more you practice this, the more it becomes a habit, and you can have healthy conversations with strong boundaries. The third sign is sharing too much personal information with others too quickly or with the wrong people. So many of us have been in different social interactions where we've kind of shared a little bit too much about ourselves, whether it be something about our finances, something about our medical history, or whatever, something that's a bit too personal, a bit too much. It's kind of dumping on somebody else. There's this oversharing of personal information that can make people feel kind of overwhelmed or even judgmental to a degree. When we first meet somebody, we need to understand where they're at and what is appropriate to share in those moments. You need to build that trust with somebody and establish rapport before you can just start dropping all these heavy things on top of their shoulders. So there's a few things to keep in mind in these categories that are not fully exhaustive, but general categories that are helpful to kind of try and avoid with situations like this. Some things you should avoid sharing too much about would include negativity towards other people or groups, maybe any animosity towards past friends or partners, health conditions, any sort of family or friend drama, specific traumas you have, strong religious or political beliefs, and then anything on finances from work, investments, etc. This list is not exhaustive, but they're general topics that should be carefully considered before sharing. There may be times where it's appropriate to share these things, but you have to read the room and read the people you're interacting with. Proceed with caution and be very careful here. The fourth sign is that you think you're responsible for other people's emotions. Some people have a very hard time identifying what they're feeling versus what other people are feeling. They almost have this synergistic tie mentally that they assign to themselves in the situation. They say, oh, this person is feeling that and it was my fault. I caused it. It was me. It's pretty unhealthy over time, and it can cause a lot of frustrating mental health issues because you're putting so much responsibility on your shoulders for the emotions and reactions of other people. It's really important in those moments to step back and pause, thinking, what am I in isolation actually feeling in this moment? And what is this person feeling? What behaviors and attitudes are they demonstrating? And how is this intermingling with one another? What are we doing in this situation? And what actions did I take or may I have done to have caused this specific thing? There's so many times when we may have not actually caused those emotions or those specific feelings. It's really easy to get caught up in this, especially if you're a people pleaser or it's somebody you care about. But the more we can step back away from this and look at the situation objectively, the more we can understand that it's not our responsibility for having everyone's feelings controlled around us. So whether it's feeling guilty about prioritizing yourself, you're people pleasing, you're sharing too much information with others, or you think of yourself as responsible for others' emotions, there's various steps you can do to address these things to help set better, stronger boundaries. I hope this was insightful for you, and know that awareness is the first step. Just by knowing these things and having the internal awareness is already a massive step towards better mental, psychological development. So best of luck in your journey. I hope this was insightful for you. Remember to take care of yourselves. Remember to take care of those around you. And for all things psychology to help you think, feel, and perform better, stay tuned right here on Psychology of Living.